go again.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again, and I am vibrating with excitement to bring this knife out to you. Ever since I did the quick unboxing video last week of this knife, I've gotten a ton of questions. And the only way that people have seen this knife as of yet are the video that I put up of the unboxing and the videos that John Rusk, the owner of EMP EDC, has put up on his Instagram. So I can understand that he's probably gotten a ton of questions himself. This is a super, super exciting knife. This is the brand new, or I should say upcoming, it's not even brand new because it's not available yet. This is the prototype, the upcoming Pulse Out the Front from EMP EDC. Now, for those that don't know, I am a monster fan of EMP EDC. The Nimble is absolutely one of my favorite smaller knife designs. I carry a Nimble very, very often. And man, there's just something about his design language that really, really excites me. And his manufacturing partners have always been super solid, making incredible quality knives. And one of the other great things is they're always favorably priced. Here we're looking at only $260. Now, I realize that for some people that may sound like a lot of money. There's a lot of really cheap knockoff out the fronts out there flooding the market that you could buy for $100, $150, $200 with rather dubious origins, you know, where they'll say that they're made in America and they're not. EMP EDC is not doing that. They're not claiming that these are made in America. They're very upfront, as always, with all of their products where they're made. And these are going to be imported in from overseas. These are Chinese made. However, John is working on a project to make USA manufactured Pulse Out the Fronts in the future. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but for right now, it's going to be this design right here that's going to be available. And I see these as being very, very popular. What we're used to in an out the front knife is typically the kind of stuff that we see, let's say from Microtech, where you're going to have a completely flat body and you're going to have a very high price. There are not very many that have been under $300. Generally, when you get into like Blade Show specials and stuff, they'll do like a special commemorative edition and they'll have a lower price on, say, an Ultratech or something. And then more people can get into them because they are a little bit more affordable. What I found last year that excited me was the axial shift, because these are under $300 and they're very solidly made, very, very well made. But they're not a lot different from the out the fronts that we've typically seen, because again, another completely flat body, rectangular shape. Here with the Pulse, you're getting into a nice contoured body, so it's got a nice convex contouring to it. My absolute favorite thing about the design of the knife is the fact that you have all of this milling done in here. It has a really, really nice textured feel. It doesn't really make it much more grippy, so I don't want you to think that having all of this milling is going to make it, you know, super grippy in the hand or anything, because it really doesn't. but it has a really nice tactility to it, and that is followed through in the pocket clip. Now, this is 6061 T6 aluminum. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm speaking out of school here because I forgot to ask John what the clip was made out of. I believe the clip is titanium. So it looks to my eyes to be titanium, so I'm going to kind of run with that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Another nice thing he did was, if you look at all the how deep the milled lines are, these ridges, he's got a landing pad, a smooth raised landing pad to go right underneath the pocket clip. And that aids in getting it into the pocket easily. It doesn't get hung up and snagged between the valleys of the milled lines and the pocket clip. And it saves you a little bit of wear and tear on the pockets of your pants as well. So I really, really dig that. Now, action and reliability is the next pro. I can sit here and be abusive. There is no practical reason to ever fire and retract the blade this quickly. It doesn't do the knife any good. Typically, if you're standing there talking to the manufacturer of one of these knives, let's say a Blade Show or something, they'll tell you, yeah, it's really not the smartest thing to do. It can jump off the track. It can become unreliable. I have yet to have a misfire with this, and I've had this in my possession just under 2 weeks now. It fires hard. And as far as the switch strength goes, it doesn't have as long of a travel before it releases as you would see on the Axial or typical Microtech. It's a little bit shorter of a throw, and just about the same amount of tension. So it's just enough so that you wouldn't have an accidental misfire if you're putting it in your pocket. And so it's definitely got that resistance to it. But it's not going to be a burden if you have arthritic hands, if you have weak thumbs. We see people all the time in various knife groups talking about getting into out the front. So they're like, man, the switch is so hard to manipulate on my Microtech or on my Heretic or whatever brand that they happen to have gotten. And this, I don't see anyone having any problems. And the jimping that's on here, the stepped jimping going up the switch on both sides, is done really, really nicely. It's got a lot of grab without being sharp. And actually the Axial did have a little bit of sharpness to it. I had forgotten about that. There is no sharpness to that, but it's definitely grabby. Another pro for me is going to be this really, really cool Wharncliffe blade. And they have followed through with their design language by having the fuller groove with the slot milled out of the middle of it so that it keeps in line with the other EMP EDC designs. You're going to look at the knife and instantly know who made this without even looking for the logo on the backside. It's lightweight. It's got good ergonomics. I feel like it's comfortable in my hand. Something that you very rarely see on an out the front is jimping on the spine of the blade. I still would not suggest to people to have their fingers or to get used to having your fingers anywhere up in front of that opening or up on the blade. Because, I mean, you could develop poor muscle memory and you've got your finger up there for some reason because you've been so used to jumping up here and gripping it that you could probably slide that blade right across your finger and really open up some flesh, man. You don't want to do that. Man, I like the compact size of this too. Putting it up against the Axial Shift, you see that it's a little bit shorter, but a little bit taller, a little bit wider. Thickness is about the same. Now keep in mind that this is about the same overall length as a Microtech Ultratech, but it's a little bit taller. So it's almost like having a combat Troodon that's the length of an Ultratech, basically. Ultratechs are pretty skinny, though. And this is even wider. It's even taller, but it's so short and compact. It takes up almost no room in the pocket at all whatsoever. I really, really dig that. So the feel in the hand, the ergonomics, the blade shape, the fact that you've got a hollow ground blade, that is not something that we're accustomed to seeing on, I can't think of any production level out the fronts that are hollow ground. Certainly some customs like Marfione customs and stuff like that. But if there are production out the fronts that have hollow grinds, I'm just not able to think of them. I really don't remember. You're also going to be getting into MagnaCut, which is something else we don't see very often on out the fronts either. And John says that they're getting 62 to 64 Rockwell out of their MagnaCut, which means they are bringing it up to that premium target for hardness on the MagnaCut. Of course, you're going to have very high corrosion resistance. But I don't think a lot of people have really done a lot of very hard testing at different Rockwell levels on MagnaCut yet, because it's so new to really say how it's going to perform in all scenarios. I know I've used MagnaCut quite often in the knives that I make, and a lot of what I was testing for was edge retention and wear and corrosion resistance, and I've been very, very happy. In my personal experience, it's only a pain in the butt when you're making a knife because it seems to anyway, at least in my experience, warp a little bit more easily in heat treat than any other stainless steel. So it's a little bit finicky when you're heat treating it. Other than that, it's fantastic. And I don't know of anybody that's really had any serious complaints about MagnaCut, even though it is a brand new steel. A ton of knives are out there being made with MagnaCut. I know ProTech has had really, really great results with their MagnaCut. And nobody really seems to have any complaints. So it's nice to have a really popular super steel built into this at the $260 price. Very quickly, the only changes that's going to happen between this prototype and the production that's coming out, he says that he's going to be switching out the body screws to T8s, and the tolerances are going to be just a wee little bit tighter. Now, this has very little blade play, but there is blade play that you would typically expect in almost every out the front made. Obviously not the Hawk Deadlock, but that's $1,500 and up. Not the Sand Shark, which was the first one to not have any blade play at all. And try to get one of those under $1,500 to $2,000. That's probably not going to happen because they're not made anymore. So when it comes to out the fronts, we know that there's going to be, I have to be careful, this is a double edge. We know there's going to be a little bit of blade play, but there's very little in this. It's there, but it's certainly well within the expectations of any production out the front knife. Again, I do believe that this does have a titanium clip and a titanium switch. Because when you bead blast aluminum like this, it's going to look a little bit brighter, a little bit frostier. This is what titanium looks like when it's been bead blasted. So that's what I believe. I really, really like that blade. Oops, got a little bit of fabric on there from wiping it down earlier. Come on, get off of there. The jimping, by the way, if you do choose to use it, it is very, very grippy jimping. Very nicely done. And again, these will be swapped out to T8s. They look like they're probably T6s. Beautiful design all the way around. And even though there's a whole bunch of milling on here, these lines are not sharp at all, not even on the edges. They've chamfered all the way around. so that there's no harsh edge at the end of the milled lines. And while you feel it, you feel these ridges. It's almost like, what are those potato chips? Ruffles. Almost kind of feels like a Ruffles potato chip. None of these lines are harsh at all. All right, let's get that back down there. And let's get into the specs real quick. We're looking at an overall length of about 7.5 inches with a 3-inch blade. So I think it goes back to being a really good EDC size. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I promise I will make this very, very brief. I want to thank those of you that have joined and become channel members. You are helping to support the channel and helping to continue the growth. And if you've been considering supporting the channel in any way, shape, or form, because I do not have channel sponsors, I don't shill anybody's products, I don't get paid for anything, I don't do affiliate links, so everything is completely self-funded. If you'd like to help out and watch the channel grow and get more great content coming your way, please do consider becoming a member. All of the hardware and internals are going to be made of stainless steel. So this really does seem to be just well made all the way around, well concepted, well designed, and at least this prototype is very well executed. Oh man, I really do dig this whole design. It looks, it looks like it should as an out the front. It's not, it's not like this crazy, ridiculous concept that's so far out in left field that you look at it and go, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get that. But it's just different enough that it feels like a wildly different knife than what we're accustomed to. And it really feels solid, and it sounds solid too. Let's give you some sound comparisons here. I'll put these up to the microphone. Start with the axial shift. Now to the pulse. It's more like this thunk, 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 almost like hearing a titanium frame lock as it locks up. Very positive action, very solid feeling. And again, that little bit of contouring to the frame feels very, very nice. And I just realized the pocket clip has almost no presence in the hand. You almost don't even realize there's a pocket clip there. That's pretty nice. So, normally in the TLDW, I give you a list of pros and a list of cons. I really can't come up with a con for this knife. It's a great low price. It's MagnaCut steel. It's hollow ground. It's got a nice aggressive design to the blade design and to the grinds. Nice materials. Feels very, very solid in the hand. Operates flawlessly. Has a pleasing sound, nice harmonics when it opens and closes. So yeah, I really don't see, I really can't find any cons to it. And we got the specs out of the way. Now for basically, this whole video has been my personal opinion and the review section already, but just to reiterate, these are coming out sometime in October of 2023. John's not exactly sure when, but it's going to be sometime in October. He did just auction off or did a lotto or a raffle or something for the other prototype. I don't know how many prototypes he made, but this one is prototype number 1, I believe. I don't know. He didn't write if it was number 1 or number 2 or whatever. But the other one had a two-tone blade. I think it had black DLC flats with the satin bevels. So all the way around, I think it's fantastic. It's coming out soon. It's a great price, in my opinion, at $260. And I'm sure there's going to be different variations at slightly different prices. There may be different finishes and different materials used for smaller runs and stuff. I'm fairly certain we'll see that. I'm really honestly excited to see these come out and see how many different variations there are. I like the black and gray. I think it's handsome. I think it's a good classic look. I would love to see a purple and an orange. Like Axial makes a really vivid, stupidly cool orange that I think is pretty awesome. There's a lot of colors that you could do when you're talking about anodizing aluminum that you can't do in titanium. Like you could do red and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing quite a few different variations and flavors and probably several different blade shapes. If you're not a Wharncliffe fan, don't worry. I'm sure there's going to be a double edge or a drop point or a spear point or something that will get your juices flowing. I really like the Wharncliffe. I think it's a handsome look. And again, it sets it apart from everybody else's out the front by being just a little bit different. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, if you have any questions about the Pulse, please put them down below, and I will do my best to get them answered for you. And I'll reach out to John and try to verify as many things as I can if you have questions that I can't already answer. And that's it for me, and I'll see you guys on the next video.